Oh yeah, sorry about that, guys. Back in business. Um, yeah, sorry about that. Back in business, guys. I'm not sure what was happening there. Sometimes what happens is when I transition between the two screens, um, we get a play up with resolution. But yeah. So anyway, as you can see here, this would be me storyboarding out how I'm going to play this scene. So as you can see, I've drawn my character up, and I'm thinking about which scene I want to implement him into. I might overlay him. I might place him atop another screening, which might make that a little bit more interesting and add a little bit more of a tail to my work when introducing a character, and etc, etc, etc. One of the key things I wanted to work on was the angles, which is like an angle like this. So you can picture the camera being at roughly an angle down here, kind of like looking up towards him. And the reason why I like that is because you actually have to envision that in your mind. You kind of have to take things into consideration when you draw that character at that angle, because if you can't envision it, it is something that is very hard to draw. And if it's hard to draw and you don't achieve it, then it makes it a bit harder to convince your target audience. But I do like to tackle myself with hard angles, tricky angles. I'm not the best at all angles, but that's something that I'm going to briefly bring out with you guys in this little showcase. I've kind of briefly brought it out in one of my other streams, which would be where I use perspective lines. I can take you to that one now. So in this one, like in my previous stream, I use perspective lines to help give me vision on how I would like to envision the scene. Now take note, in this, all we will be able to see is what's inside this box here. And within that box, what I've done is I've drawn like clouds. And the reason why I did that was because that might be how I want the scene to look. We might just be seeing clouds in the background and seeing him walking from just this perspective. There might be a reason to that, there might not be a reason to that. It all depends on the viewer, I guess you could say. So that's my logical, I guess you could say, planning with that one. And in case I choose not to go with that, I've also drawn this up, which is a very, 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 very rough sketch of like a background, and he might be walking along this background, but this background is very interesting because I've used a 2-point perspective as to 1 point. Usually you would use a 1-point perspective to get something simple drawn down, but when you're doing something a little bit more technical, you do have to bring in a range of perspectives. Now the reason why I used perspectives with this particular more than one perspective point with this particular piece was because what I had in mind was going with like kind of an abstract animation. I'm not sure if it's something that I will use, but it's something that I may stick with. It all depends on time and how efficiently I am able to work through that timesheet that I have, the mental timesheet as it were. So I can show you now. So here, if you can see my mouse moving on the screen, where this black line is, somewhere here is where my first perspective point is. So I will draw that little dot. Now everything from here, reverts, originates to or from that perspective point, which is why you kind of get that kind of pulling effect, like you're kind of looking through a keyhole. And then I went and perked another one, and the other one would be here. So I've got 1 point here, and I've got 1 point here. Now I can explain why I have 2 points. The first point, which is the point that is over on this side, is to help me, plant the road, and I don't know, maybe put a few fences coming down, but everything will stem from that point. That's to put maybe a fence here, and then it all stem to that point. And so that's how that goes. And also everything in the road, everything will stem to that point. So that's why I put that perspective point. Also, it helped me, figure out how these houses will be drawn. So if I was to draw it higher, then I would draw the house coming this way. And that's why I drew this perspective point, because now this one will mark how I would draw the line coming back from this point. So I could actually map that house out. And the reason why I'm using the perspective point in this one is so that I got an understanding of how my environment will look and how it will influence how I will animate within that environment. But something that's also very interesting, which I would like to bring out, is atop of all of this, if I now say, which was something I started thinking about actually, if I say, rather than just drawing a straight line, I curve the line. Maybe on this one I'll curve the line this way. Maybe this lower line doesn't curve so much. And then with this line, I curve the line. Maybe I curve it inwards. I think it'd be a curve outwards. And then rather than drawing a straight line coming down to that perspective point, I kind of either bow it this way or I bow it that way. And I do it like that. So that one's going to that perspective point. And then that one is kind of going to it as well. Or maybe I have it coming outwards. Then you can see the effect that I get now. It's more like a fishbowl. I think this one will kind of come out as well. Something that I've never really done before. But I was thinking about it before I decided to upload it. But as you can see, now I have something like a fishbowl. If you just bear with me, what I'll do is I'll just kind of get me out the way for a minute. And now what you can see is in this image it looks a bit more like a fishbowl as to like the fisheye effect, the fisheye lens, as to just your typical straight road, straight houses that kind of vanish off into that perspective point. Now we have something that's a bit more fun to play with. So I can just kind of do that, and then I could kind of maybe bring this line coming out like this, I can bring this line coming out, and then it kind of comes around, and then this one kind of comes around, and or maybe that one doesn't come out so much, maybe it ends somewhere here, and this line comes out, and you can see if I wanted to, I could draw my houses along that little situation there, which obviously once I put a bit more time into it, we get a bit more of a better feel as to how that will actually work. Like I said, not something that I've really done before, but something that I might actually explore into, hence why I might not do it in this piece myself, because it might take a bit more time than expected, because I'm not trained in that at the moment. And so that was something that I was working on today, and also I'm working on trying to create a new batch of characters that will play a fundamental role within my works, which will be, if you've seen any of my previous uploads, where I showcase my alien world, and there's a rocket, which I most certainly want to put into this promo. I've got to tell you guys as well, this promo, if I didn't tell you at the beginning, I'm going to trim it down a little bit, because it is very vast. It's quite a huge task, because it covers a lot of ground, and I don't think I will be able to do all of that and then try and perk it ahead of time of my graphic novel, because I wouldn't be able to complete the graphic novel, and I don't even know if I will be able to even start my graphic novel this year. But it is something that I have planned, and I do want to stick to that plan, but I can't guarantee that we'll be able to achieve that, so there's no promises there, but it is something that you will more than likely see within my comments, once I have once I have that planned. So this is me working on one of my soldier characters. The goal is to make them futuristic, so that's something that I will try to achieve. I think I might try and achieve that today, and if I do, I will upload the picture on my DeviantArt and maybe my ArtStation, depending on how far I take the rendering process. Chances are I'll put down a flat image and I would leave it at a flat image. I won't do the rendering process until later on, because that does take a lot of time. But yes, that's something else. This is all part of the storyboarding process, by the way. Placing my characters down on the canvas and trying to position them and characterize them, as it were, give them a personality, that it makes it easier for me to work alongside them, to use them to my will, bend them to my will, as it were, and this is the starting point. Not only giving them gear, clothing to wear, but also trying to come up with like attitude and poses to also signify or to put a signature on each and every single one of the characters that I will end up developing over this period of time. Here is a character that I will implement into the promo. Here it's very rough, but the idea is to just keyframe his positioning and to get an idea of what I'm going to do with him. Again, I think I may overlay him, aka overlap him onto one of my other scenes, which I think will be a good way to introduce him into my work, and not taking out of, you know, not trying to forget any of the previous work, not trying to elude away from that in any way, but a lot of that work will be dismissed, put aside, which is awesome, because it's something that I will be able to get back to, because it's partially already fleshed out. You know, it's got its skeletons, as it were. Some of them already have more contour, as it were. You know, they have their vessels, the veins, muscles. I just need to flesh it out a little bit more. And so that's why I'm not too fussed about putting it on the side. This is something that I need to work on. And here I have two other characters. As you can see, keying means that is how I'm going to animate my character for this one shot, and that would be the other character, and he's probably got something, he's got a key, so I'm going to key him moving in. I'm going to animate him in the fashion that I'll need to animate him to complete this shot as well. And over here I have something like a dancing character, as she performs all the key stances that I will need to create a fine animation, so as to make her shot work as well. So that's practically how I go through my animation process. So I'm glad I was able to show you guys that. I hope you guys are looking forward to seeing how I accomplish this, because this is something that I have been working on, and will be working on, aside from all the other stuff that I've been working on, including some of the stuff that I've been working on, which is the stuff that I previously streamed for you guys and uploaded. I think it was yesterday and the day before. And some of these stuff I pulled out from the closet. Some stuff I will renew, some stuff I won't renew for now. But like I said, these are things that I've had fleshed out, and there's always a set time and a perfect there's a set time, a set period for each and every single one of my pieces, and trying to rush it all out the closet now just to, you know, feed you guys with it doesn't make any sense, because it would just get confusing, very frustrating, and you'll probably lose interest very quickly. But if I do things in a fashionable manner, in a way that you guys are able to keep up and with me and understand my work just as I do, then it's more like we're working together, rather than I'm just throwing things at you and trying to see if you like this or if you like that. This way you're able to say to your own self, you know, oh, I can see what's going on, and you can see not only the development of my work, but you'll be able to actually catch on to, you know, portions of my stories as well, and gain a little bit of interest, which I think will be good for you guys. Obviously, as well as for me. Your interest is my interest. I like to believe my interest is your interest. Anyway, guys, it's your boy Patience. I hope you like what you see. Leave your likes, your thumbs, and your comments down below. And if you have any queries, guys, over and out.